Hello and welcome back to another Pickled Unscripted. With me, as always, I have the talented Matt the Pickled Dragon, and I'm Dracoya. Today, we are going to continue our series on the different books that we have come up with, and today's book is the Fiendish Codex 2. I am really excited about it, but before we get started, Matt, what are you drinking?
Oh, I got Bullet, my ever
Bullet
faithful
again.
friend. Yeah.
Hey,
How about
if
you?
it's good, it's good.
It is good.
Today I've got vodka and club soda, your typical Tito's. I guess we're just not feeling imaginative today, but
No, it's all good. It's classic.
that's fine. I will say though that I've got this new club soda. It's called Betty Buzz. I got it at Total Wine and it's pretty legit. It actually had like bits of lemon and lime in there. So for people who are
Huh.
on a budget or they just don't have enough citrus around, like this is a really good substitute.
Nice. Nicely done.
So, The Fiendish Codex 2 is such an exciting book. Matt, you had suggested this for us to read, and I adore it. I love the way this book is written. It has just it has so much more substance than a lot of the other books that I have read with 5e. A lot of the other books have felt like there's so much filler and there's these giant essays that don't really add to what I need to pull from a book as a DM. But this book was perfect. It was clear, it was concise. I loved the layout. It was my Goldilocks. It didn't have too much lore, but it did have just enough. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's a book. I mean, it's fewer than 150 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, like you said, there's no filler in it. Every page you turn is packed with good information on the nine hells, devils. Um, I mean, the litany. I could go on about this book for hours, which I know we can't do, but the the number of things, if I had to boil it down, we picked out a handful of reasons why this book is so amazing. Tyrants of the Nine Hells, it's the Fiendish Codex too. Um, the first thing I that really stands out to me, and it's the first pages of the book, like you get past the title page and whatnot, and there's something there called the Pact Primeval. And in the Pact Primeval, it talks about how the devils came to possess hell, Asmodeus's rise to prominence, and as Lord of the Ninth, as well as where Dispater and Mephistopheles and all the rest come from. Um, and that foundation there, it's all done in narrative form. So it's a very compelling story, and it's only like 2 pages long, so it's not a difficult read, but it's very profound to give that foundation to where hell came from. And then it goes on to other foundational themes that you find around hell, including with one that D&D, with the exception of like Planescape and whatnot, they're really had, they've always given lip service to it, but it's always been something that's very popular in D&D lore, and that's the Blood War. That it's that eternal struggle between demons of the abyss and the devils of hell. And they,
Mm-hmm.
they hate one another. But I love the quote in here from it: "The nature of the Blood War. The Blood War is a manifestation of a wider cosmic principle, the eternal tension between law and chaos." So rather than a struggle between good and evil, it's a struggle between law and chaos. Uh, but uh, all of this history and all of this lore um, provides a depth and a richness to it that when you start peeling away those layers of the onion and you start giving that to your players, it builds tension and it builds fear and it builds this idea that hell is truly something to be feared, you know.
Yeah, it was so good. And the next thing that we really enjoyed were the different layers of hell. And there's 9 layers total. And Matt, you had mentioned how you really enjoyed it. So there's the descriptions of each layer. Each layer has their own nuances. Each layer has their own master. And each layer is going to have a whole list of your important locations. It's going to have so many maps and little adventures and important people and important moments that you can drive things forward with your players. It was just, it's so good.
Yeah, you know, that is one of the things like in previous books, like the Manual of the Planes gave lip service to the layers of the hell. And it might have given one or two important locations, but this book goes into great detail about the different locations, the cities of hell and how they're ruled, and how mortals who come visit the hells are treated, and there is on the first layer of hell one of my favorite locations is a city that was pulled into from the material plane, an entire city that fell into hell. And now, after generations, its denizens, its people still dwell in that city, but they have to live like a post-apocalyptic nightmare where they hide from devils, and devils go there for sport. And it's you know uh
And that's
a
just the first layer, guys.
yeah, I mean, we're just scratching the surface, and it's a terrifying idea that there's no escape for those people, and
It,
I've
I
used it in
also
past campaigns, and my players were always like, "Don't ever do like something like that to me again," because it was very traumatic.
it's such a good book. I also really like how there are small bits of lore throughout each layers of hell that are unique to that layer, but it allows the different DC saves so that your characters can roll to see, if you have an intelligent character, see if maybe they do know one or two things about this layer. And it gives a little bit more description and a little bit more help to you as a DM on what you can give your players and what you should probably keep to yourself.
Yeah, the charts in there are great for your knowledge skills. And
Yeah.
it'll say use religion for this one or use arcana for this list.
Mm-hmm.
And that is very helpful as a DM, because then you don't have to judge, oh well, you rolled an 18, here's what I think as a DM you should probably know. Whereas if you could give it to them if you want to give them more information for sure, but the charts in there give beautiful guidelines.
I also like how one of the demon lords layer in the layers of hell, one of them is a woman. And I really like her backstory. And they give enough personality to each demon lord and I'm sorry, each lord of hell. And so it allows for a wonderful amount of characterization and storytelling and role playing. So maybe you don't have to fight your way through every single layer. You can make a demon pact with this person or an agreement with this person or do this lord a favor. And you can kind of figure out as a DM what it is that these people want, which will help you create this world for your characters.
Yeah, the details that they give, like there are pages dedicated to each individual Lord of Hell. Um, and they give detailed information on what their plans are, because all of them are all scheming. All of them want to be the master of the ninth and dethrone Asmodeus.
Right.
So they have all of their little machinations and schemes going on. They're schemers, and really, schemes are, and this is why devils are among my favorite monsters in Dungeons and Dragons, because scheming is like breathing air to a devil. It is, they have layers and layers and layers of plans. If this plan A goes wrong, they don't just have like one or two sub plans. They've got, plan A2, and then plans B1 through 5, and then plan C. I mean, it is just, they plan for every eventuality.
They've
And
got all this time, right? I mean, if
yeah,
you had all the time in the world to create the best master plan scheme of your life, and it was a very long life, you would have a billion and one plans too. But I agree with you, Matt. I like that about them.
yeah, and each devil lord has their goals and plans, and not only that, but their strategies that they use. Like this particular devil uses these types of strategies and tactics to, you know, get what they want. So one devil lord might be, the hammer hitting the nail. He goes at it full force. Another devil lord might be willing to spend 1,000 years letting their plans unfold to get what they want. So each one of them have those details in there, and it's fantastic.
And it gives it to
Insane.
you, and that way you're not bored as a DM playing the exact same character over and over and over for your players. And there's a lot of different nuances that your players can explore. Personally, I can see myself using this book as a long branch off of a side quest. Like, if there's an exorcism gone wrong, there's a child in a village and your party has gotten to know this village and care about this village and protect this village over a long period of time. And there's this child that keeps popping up, and slowly over time, they realize they're possessed and the exorcism goes wrong and they lose the child. Maybe they go to enter hell just to retrieve that child's soul back. And Matt, you had a great story when I was asking you about this. You had mentioned that one of your players went to hell because why don't you
Yeah,
tell it?
there was I think most DMs have a player who want to be unambiguously heroic, like a good character. And he um, did enter a Faustian pact where he traded his soul for the help he needed to rescue, essentially rescue the material plane, And one of those all or nothing Hail Mary, okay, I'm gonna make the sacrifice. So the next campaign rolls around and everyone's deciding what they want to build for their character. And this player was like, well, I want to make my old character's brother. And he got all the other players on board. I want to go to hell and rescue his soul. He deserves to be rescued. And
See, that's so good.
yeah, and that next campaign spent a lot of time trying to get to and trying to get out of hell.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
So see, it can be a large part of an even larger campaign. You could also just use it as not maybe a one shot, but a couple one shots that are weaved together. So the other thing that we were discussing, Matt, was the monsters in this book compared to some of the others, because this is 3.5.
Yeah, this is a third edition book. Um, you know, my opinion, and it's not universally true, but my opinion is that the 5e designers, um, they created challenge, in particular with the higher tiered monsters, the higher CR monsters, through pretty much damage output.
Hmm.
And there is more than one way to defeat an adventuring party.
Yeah.
So if you look at the third edition um, demons and devils and monsters in general, they tend to have a lot more features, and they'll have a lot of features that don't necessarily do damage, but they put a burr in the side of a player character group. Um, and of course, in third edition, not every class could cast spells. Not every class had some sort of ability to heal themselves. Whereas 5e has much more of that. Um, so many of the features you'll see in third edition uh, were much more hampering to a third edition character than would be a 5 edition character. But a good DM could take a look at this book, take a look at the features that these monsters have, recognize how they could translate to 5e, and provide some pretty substantive challenges to their players by bringing forward some of these older features and functionality that that these monsters had, because like I'm kind of disappointed when I look at some of the 5e, CR17 and higher monsters. It's just, they just do they just
It's very point and shoot. There's just not a lot of depth there. They don't seem to have a lot of, they're not as challenging, they're not as scary, they're not as intense. And again, it's just point and shoot. And maybe I don't want to only have my evil monsters that are just point and shoot. Maybe I want some evil monsters that have some other motivations and other tactics.
Yeah, and I really have begun, particularly in the last 2 years, pulling forward older edition features into, and boy, my players are like, is that a printed? Like they notice, because most players today have read the monster manuals. They know
Yeah,
what's going on.
mine have.
And they'll be like, and a lot of my players right now aren't experienced with older editions. So they'll be
But
like,
if you,
is that a published monster? Because they know that
exactly.
something's not right. And I'll be like,
Yeah.
what difference does it make?
Well, yeah, but I love that too because just like you said, all my people, I mean, they've read the books. They could probably recite it like, the Odyssey. But if I throw them a new one and I just throw something out of left field, they're like, wait, this is kind of fun. I like it. The last thing that I wanted to mention is that I really liked the feats in this book. So in this particular book, they use feats as brands, almost like tattoos in 5e. If you make a pact with one of the lords of hell or another demon, you get branded. And the brand doesn't have to be obvious. It doesn't even have to be like a tattoo or a mark. It could be an odor that's given off of the body. It could be some other tick that your character has developed. But to other people outside of hell, if they are intelligent characters, they would be able to identify these markings. And that might close some doors for your characters. That might open some doors for your characters, but it gives a lot of options as far as role playing goes.
Yeah, it's a great way to say, hey, this is where my warlock came from.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
smells
yeah.
like sulfur all the time. That's kind of weird,
Or maybe it smells like flowers all the time, or much, much worse.
Yes, yes. Well, I think we've repeated ourselves over and over again that we love this book, Tyrants of the Nine Hells. And we're going to be doing a few more of these videos. We've got several other older edition books, as well as some third party uh, publisher books that we're going to do and that we're going to feature. And the next video is going to be one of those third party books, and we'll kind of keep that a secret until we unveil it. But it's along these themes here, so do stay tuned for that, because there is so much that these older edition books have to offer. And I've heard so much complaining over the last couple of years about where the direction 5e is taken.
Yeah,
And I'm like, you're the DM, you can improvise, you can take any book you want and turn it into any edition you want. And
you
some
can.
books obviously lend themselves to that process more easily than others, and these lore heavy books are certainly one of them. But until then, thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share the video, go outside and scream. Come on
Stream with
back
your
and have another
friends.
round on us.
I'll just take the Thorm ring. Thank you very much.
Oh, like hell you will. You can have this. Take the venom dagger. I'll take the thorn ring.
Venom dagger. What am I? Well, actually, that could be useful. No, wait, I'm not taking the Thorm ring.
Over my dead body. I can't believe
Oh,
you would even
over your
think
dead body.
that
That
you would
can
get
be
the thorn
arranged. I'm
ring.
going to take
It's
this
my
dagger and I'm
ring.
going to
Not
shove it up
yours.
your.
My ring.
Whether you are looking for truly unique rings to exchange on your wedding day, or simply a statement piece for Renaissance fair or cosplay, look no further than Thorum. Rings fit for the gods. Use promo code PICKLED for 20% off your order.